Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Miami Total Football Radio, the show. We got 3 out of the 4 on this week's first episode because we should have 2 this week. My voice, if you're listening, or of course, if you're watching, is Franco Panizo, or the voice of Franco Panizo. Joining me, Alonso Contreras, and welcoming her back, is Andrea Llanes, a.k.a. Ajicita is back. It's been, I think it's been like a month, Andrea, since we've seen you. Of course, naturally, Andrea's return comes after Inter Miami loses and ties. So I give you one chance, Andrea. I'm not going to ask you how you're doing. I give you one chance to defend yourself here because the comment section is going to be up in arms about you returning only after Inter Miami suffered a defeat. Andrea, you're on mute. Andrea, estás en mute.
You mute me, Franco. You mute me. You're censoring me since the beginning. No, I'm glad to be back, first of all. And yeah, it's been a crazy... I told you the last time I was here, it's going to be crazy to be back because we had the Miami Open, the NBA, everything this month. And the baseball is back, so I've been working a lot and I couldn't get a chance to be here, but I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be back with you guys and to talk about Inter Miami. And they tied yesterday, so technically they didn't lose, right? So
this is the first pod since they lost, though.
They tied that I'm back.
It's the first pod since they lost.
Oh,
but
yeah,
no, look, I will help defend you. Andrea and Jose have both been very busy. It's not Andrea's fault that the U.S. Open was last week, right? And she was covering that alongside Jose. So I will defend her in that manner. But I mean, yes, if you want to continue with the conspiracy theory that she only shows up after they lose, that's fair because, I mean, right now, the pattern continues, the trend continues. So it could be factual. Of course, Alonso is with us here once again. G.I. Joe. We've got a comment for you here, Justin, with the salute. Alonso, how you doing?
Doing good, man. I mean, ready for go to Miami on Wednesday and see Inter Miami advance against LAFC.
So you're already giving us your prediction. Okay, thank you very much. I should give you a yellow card, but I know we're pressed on time today because Alonso's got some other obligations later this evening, and no, he's not going to the nightclub on a Monday night. But we've got a lot to talk about. This is the first time the three of us are here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show. We'll see how our chemistry goes. We'll see if we can iron out whatever kinks we have, or we'll see if it just flows from the beginning. Hopefully soon, maybe later this week, we can get all 4 of us together. It still hasn't happened. Los Cuatro Fantásticos de Miami Total Football Radio. We haven't had that yet, but hopefully soon. Give us a like, a comment, a share, subscribe, a written review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're almost at 100 reviews. I would like to get to 100 reviews. So if you haven't left a review, please do so. It helps us out tremendously. Okay, guys, let's jump right into it. The last time we were on this show, it was Alonso and I. Alonso was battling his sleep. He was falling asleep during Inter Miami versus LAFC last Wednesday. Since then, Inter Miami has played a league game against Toronto FC, which ended in a 1-1 draw. We will talk about that here in just one moment. Of course, we're going to preview the big game on Wednesday night, Inter Miami's most important match to this point in the year, at this early point in the season. And before we do all that, we'll very quickly talk about the news that's kind of been filtering in over the last few hours. And that is the Kevin De Bruyne and Inter Miami links, rumors, and reports. So it's being reported through different media outlets that Inter Miami has interest in one Kevin De Bruyne, and that there could be an offer this summer for the Belgian international who will leave Manchester City after a long and successful tenure there. What I can tell you is, and this is information I've heard since the winter, Inter Miami is interested in De Bruyne. They were hoping at one point, there was an outside hope from within the organization in the winter that Man City would let him leave on a free then. And if they did, that they would try and sign him then. That didn't come to pass. But now it has been officially revealed or announced that he will not be returning to the club next year. So he will be available as a free agent this summer. Inter Miami could be in the mix for him. They do have his MLS discovery rights, as has been reported by Paul Tenorio at The Athletic. But I can tell you that Angel Di Maria, which is why you see this sign here, Angel Di Maria also remains a top target. It's not a coincidence that that number 11 on Inter Miami's roster has not been taken since Facundo Farias left. It's been left vacant for a reason. The same way the number 10 was left vacant the year that Pozuelo left before Messi arrived 6 months later. So that's why that question, who would you rather take, De Bruyne or Di Maria? Maybe Inter Miami gets creative and finds a way to get them both. I can tell you that Inter Miami is very, very, from what I hear, very, very adamant on trying to be competitive at the Club World Cup. They want to get out of the group stage. They think a big name can help them do that. So that is the information. Very quickly, Andrea, since you're back in the mix, who would you rather take? If you could only pick one, you can't say both. If you could only pick one, who would you rather have? Not saying who's more likely, because, I mean, if we're going to go that route, probably everyone's going to say Di Maria due to his link with Messi, his connection with Messi. But who would you take, De Bruyne or Di Maria?
I think in this moment, both of them are great players, but you have to take into account the realities of both. And Di Maria has been injured. He couldn't help his team in the Champions League because he was injured. And Kevin De Bruyne has been playing with Manchester City at least this season. So I guess Kevin De Bruyne would make a little bit more sense because he's still playing consistently with a team and not having problems along as Di Maria has, and has also been taken into account to go back to his national team. So it's a player that could still be that. But I like both. I don't think it's possible for them to bring both. They don't have the capacity, and MLS rules won't permit them. Maybe if for the Club World Cup, they could have both if they only sign a contract for a month, like it's rumored to be happening for the Club World Cup for clubs that are playing there to bring players that are free agents and just sign them for the month. Maybe that could be a possibility, but if not, it's not real that they can both get here to MLS. It's simply not possible. And not possible. They are not going to change the rules in the middle of the season. It's simply not happening. So if one can come, I'm guessing, in my opinion, I would get Kevin De Bruyne, but analyzing Inter Miami, you know that the real possibility is Angel Di Maria, because they can work a deal like they did with Jordi Alba, Luis Suarez, and the other guys that have come here to lower their salaries and get them as players with TAM or GAM and pay them a lot of money and get them there. You could do it easier with a Messi's friend that is Di Maria than with Kevin De Bruyne, because Kevin De Bruyne would want the Marco Reus treatment to be a DP player who is a DP caliber player.
You could make him a DP player. You could make him DP and buy down Jordi Alba, right? They have $3 million, and as Alonso loves to talk about all the time with me on WhatsApp, Inter Miami has around $3 million in general allocation.
Yeah, but they've spent some of those getting the international roster spots, and they
would
need a new international roster spot. Of course, you can still use it, yeah. But we will have to see numbers. Like it is a possibility for them to bring them. But I think I agree with that comment. I can't read the name.
Ace Lionel or Ace Lionel. Di Maria is more of a possibility.
Because with Di Maria, you can negotiate things like that because of the closeness that he has with not just Messi, but with the people that manage these situations in Inter Miami.
Thomas says De Bruyne only can come on a max TAM deal this year, maybe 2026. Alonso, who would you take? Very quickly. Andrea went long there. Who would you take? If you had the choice?
When it comes to this, you have to make Messi happy. So bring Di Maria. That's it. Okay. Simple.
I mean, positionally.
If you bring Di Maria, you put Di Maria on important games, and then you put Allende to play. He has a injury.
Listen. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with you, but I think from a positional standpoint, I mean, it's Busquets and either Redondo or Yannick Bright. And Yannick Bright, I think, is a hell of a player. But there's a huge step up. There's a huge step from Bright to De Bruyne, right? So that would be a massive step up. Now on the wing, I mean, Robert Taylor or Fafa or whoever you want to put out there, I mean, still a massive step up to Di Maria. But I think on the wings, Inter Miami can get by, whereas in the central midfield, that's one place that they're not maybe super strong at, right? You have Busquets, then you have a defensive midfielder. Redondo's okay as a box-to-box. I think positionally they could probably better need a center midfielder, but I agree with you guys. I think it would be Di Maria over De Bruyne if they
only want to bring De Bruyne first is if something is not going on in the right direction with Di Maria. That's all.
I have a sensation that Di Maria will be here. I have a sensation that Di Maria will be here. That number 11 has been left vacant for a reason. All right, well, we'll move on. There'll be plenty of time to talk about that as the summer gets closer.
Let's say that De Bruyne also has the Saudi money offer, so
there are reports that he prefers the U.S.
Yes, but he has another offer. But it's just Inter Miami.
Su esposa, breaking news. Su esposa, his wife, on her Instagram just followed Antonella. So he just followed Messi's wife. For whatever reason, people figured that out on social media and the World Wide Webs. That is something that people noticed recently. So take it for what it's worth. I present you the information, and then, we can have the dialogue. But I'm sure this will come up more and more as we get closer to the summer. All right, moving on, because we got some more important topics to talk about. And we will start with this past Sunday's MLS regular season game. Inter Miami hosted Toronto FC at Chase Stadium on Sunday night. Some Sunday night soccer, as Apple likes to call it. A nice Sunday night. Inter Miami plays to a 1-1 draw. Lionel Messi scores the equalizer to save Inter Miami from dropping 3 points. Although the equalizer was scored in the first half, there was a lot of game left to play. There was rotation in this match, but not for the big name players, which was a bit surprising for most of us. We were asking ourselves in person and via WhatsApp, what is Mascherano doing? They have a hugely important game on Wednesday, do or die match, mata-mata, against LAFC. What is he doing? Not resting some of these guys before Wednesday's big game. But we'll get to Wednesday. We'll focus first on Sunday. Let's listen to what Mascherano said about not rotating his star players, leaving them in despite the short turnaround and the upcoming important match against LAFC.
Nada, dentro de las rotaciones que queríamos hacer, creíamos que por lo que hablamos, por cómo se vienen sintiendo, son jugadores que han jugado toda su vida, más allá de, obviamente, posiblemente lo preguntas no solamente por la jerarquía, sino por la edad, pero son jugadores que han jugado toda su vida cada 3 días, están bien, están acostumbrados. Y bueno, creíamos que teníamos que tocar en otras posiciones. No mucho más que eso. Entiendo que a veces la gente pueda sorprenderse, pero yo el otro día en la conferencia del viernes dije que no estaba en mi cabeza tirar este partido, ni mucho menos. Lamentablemente no tuvimos el resultado que queríamos, que era ganar para llegar de la mejor manera el miércoles, pero bueno, en cuanto a las rotaciones creíamos que los que debían rotar los hemos rotado y bueno, ya está.
Ya está. Andrea, what do you think about the decision? Here we go. What do you think about that decision for Mascherano? And do you really just buy the reason that he just felt like rotating other positions and not the starters, or is there something more to it than that?
Yeah, I could believe that, but there's a reason Inter Miami has played a couple of these Sunday night games, because they're the marquee matchup in MLS season pass, right? And especially this game, they sold the rights to a station in Argentina. So I'm guessing people in Argentina didn't want to watch Allen Obando come in since the beginning. They wanted to watch Lionel Messi and they wanted to watch Luis Suarez. So I think that played a role in this decision, because if not, I could understand Messi because he's coming from an injury and he didn't play for 2 weeks. But Luis Suarez, after what we saw with him in LA, and that showing that we saw, that horrible game that he had, I thought that he definitely needed a rest. And especially because you got that important game against the same rival, in which he didn't show anything against LA, nothing. And to make him play another a couple of minutes, no, more than a couple of minutes, he played more than half of the game. So it's really real for me. And I have to bring that angle, because the difference is that this game was sold by Apple TV to TVs internationally. So that's something to think about. And people internationally want to see Messi, not anyone else from the team.
So Andrea's pointing to TV rights as one of the reasons why maybe these players played. Alonso, what are your thoughts as to why Busquets is suspended for the second leg? So him starting, no big deal. But Jordi Alba, Luis Suarez, Lionel Messi, what are your thoughts on them starting on short rest? Again, noting that they had to face short rest again going into this Wednesday's game.
Bro, when you play at the highest level, playing 2-3 days here in MLS and Concacaf, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. When you have to face in Europe for many years, for example, I'm just saying, Inter Milan on Wednesday and then Real Madrid on Saturday, and then you have to come here and face LAFC and then El Todopoderoso Toronto. Man, I mean, they want to play, they want to play. You're not gonna, you really think Mascherano is like, hey, Messi, I want to put you. No, he's, hey, you want to play or want to rest? Oh, I want to play. Okay. And then you come and say, but what Mascherano say in the post conference is true. I mean, they used to this type of level. And you're going to tell me that Messi is going to be,
they're used to this. Alonso, better.
But 1 week before, he said that he had to rest them because they were having trouble. And
Hold on. Alonso. Hold on. Time out. Espera. You're not wrong, Alonso, and Mascherano también dijo el punto, right? That they are used to playing this every 3 days, right? And even at higher intensities, right? But they're not used to playing these games at this age, right? I could be used to running 5 miles when I was 21. Doesn't mean I can run 5 miles as easily or as often now, right? It's not the same thing. So there was the idea from a lot of people, and Mascherano even kind of, he doesn't kind of, he alludes to it or talks about it directly. He's like, maybe this is surprising some people, but yada, yada, yada. So obviously the idea for a lot of people, for a lot of us on the media, a lot of fans, was that Messi was not going to start, that Suarez maybe got a rest, and they didn't get Suarez
with one leg has, I don't know how many goals.
Está bien, Alonso. We're not arguing that. We're arguing about the importance of Wednesday.
What Mascherano says, because 3 minutes after he said he started fighting because he said someone, he was not gonna name who, put them to play on a Sunday and an LAFC on a Saturday. If he doesn't care about that, about the players being tired, why is he saying that the schedule is bad just for them? When LAFC, and that's a lie, because, and I wanted to come here to say it, because LAFC played Sunday against San Diego FC on the last football Sunday night soccer, whatever the hell it's called. They play there, and then they played Inter Miami on Wednesday, and I didn't hear Cherundolo complaining. But here comes Mascherano saying, no, they are used to this. But then 3 minutes after, he comes and says, oh, our schedule, that's too tough for us. Then why are you playing your players that are 30, 80 years old for 90 minutes for Messi and more than 60 minutes for Luis Suarez? So for me, it's just excuses for Mascherano, to tell you the truth. It's just
it might be excuses for Mascherano, but what I'm saying is,
because if not, you have to be consistent.
No. Okay, it might be excuse for Mascherano, but for me to think that they're gonna get tired back-to-back games, I don't buy that. It's like saying they have to win this game. Do you think the Four Fantásticos are gonna come out on Chase like nervous pressure, or when they play at the biggest stadiums at way more pressure, and they're gonna play? Hey, Do you? I mean, at this point, when you won everything, I don't want to sound bad to the audience, but I mean, they care to win. But if they don't win, it's not the end of the world. So they're gonna go and do their best and try to advance. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. This is soccer. This is football. So that's gonna be the quotes in the post conference.
Ace Lionel, and shout out to the comment section because I didn't say hello earlier because been trying to cram everything in here. We weren't planning to talk about this, but obviously it's been making the round, so we decided to talk about the Bruin de Media at the start. But Ace Lionel says LAFC rotated heavily for their match. And they did rotate. Giroud got a start this past weekend on Saturday. So I mean, LAFC is coming in better rested, right? With the additional day that they have to prepare. Now,
There's the travel. Did they travel already?
They do have to travel. Correct. They do have to travel. And Alonso, I think, well, I don't completely disagree with your point. I mean, what if Wednesday's game, requires 90 hard minutes of running? I mean, can Messi and Suarez give you that on 3 days' notice? 90 minutes of hard running? I mean, we know that they're physically, they don't give you, they give you something, but they don't give you.
Messi
Por eso,
walk on the field.
What if the game entails that? What if for 85 minutes they're I just don't think it was a good decision. I agree with you that, I mean, Mascherano is su pata, right? Mascherano is as much of a friend as he is their head coach. And if they're saying, they all sit down and they're like, you know what, we want to play this game, we want to start, we'll be fine for next week, we know our bodies, then Mascherano's like, okay, cool. He's not going to be like, no, you guys can't start. No. A different head coach, someone who's maybe not so close to them personally might be like, I understand that, but I'm going to make the best decision for the team, and you guys are not starting on Sunday. We're saving your energy for next week. A different coach might make that decision, but Mascherano is close to them. Mascherano's not going to push back on that. Mascherano's be like, okay, you guys don't understand your body. Siempre lo dice, right? Siempre Messi conoce su cuerpo, etc., etc. So he gives them that respect, and he says, you guys think you're ready? Go ahead and play. It was a risk. We'll see how it plays out, what's the domino effect until Wednesday. For Inter Miami's sake, hopefully that it's not a big deal. Hopefully they advance. But curious decision all the same this past weekend. Very quickly going into the game, Inter Miami ties 1-1. The two sides trade goals at the end of the first half and first half stoppage time. Bernardeschi for Toronto, Messi for Inter Miami. There was a handball leading up to the goal that Messi scored that was not called. The VAR did not review on Gonzalo Lujan.
No, the VAR review it.
They looked at they looked right. They looked at it, but they didn't go to video review, right? The head referee didn't go to the monitor to check it out.
They only show on TV that what were they checking.
So all the same, it was a 1-1 draw. I think for me was un resultado justo. I think it was a just result. Both sides had their chances or their turns, creating chances and looking dangerous. Both teams gave up dangerous chances. And so I think a 1-1 draw was pretty even. Although at the end of the game, Inter Miami was the one under pressure and suffering. I don't think Mascherano's substitutions helped all that much. But Andrea, what was your takeaway from this draw at home against a winless Toronto FC team? Toronto FC hasn't won this season, yet they came into, I think they were second to last in the Eastern Conference. They came to South Florida and got a point from Inter Miami, which is near the top of the table.
Yeah, one of the worst teams in MLS. They haven't found any way to make it work. They have good players, interesting players, and in theory, the team should be better, but unfortunately, they aren't. And for Inter Miami, I think I tend to agree with what Alonso is saying, that I didn't see players motivated. If you see that Bernardeschi goal, Jordi Alba just gives up in the middle of it. He doesn't keep fighting. He doesn't keep keep trying to win the ball. He just turns around and goes. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe they are not motivated against this type of rivals, and they are motivated a little bit more when there's a more difficult team, or when there's a team like Atlanta and that present a little bit of more of a challenge. And I think I saw that yesterday. And I think Mascherano has an idea of how this team needs to play, and when it doesn't work, he doesn't have more ideas of bringing something different to make this team work, to make this team win, like they should have done yesterday against Toronto. Because even though they have this game against LAFC, Toronto has been really bad in the season, and you should have seen more goals from the team, especially at home.
Universal Group says Fafa sucks, and that refers to Fafa Pico missing
The header.
a pretty golden opportunity late on.
No, for
in
me,
the
the
dying
worst one was
seconds.
Suarez.
Suarez had a
worst one was
bad
Suarez.
miss. Luis Suarez had a bad miss where he got
Alan Obando
across.
also had a miss.
Alan Obando had a bad
But
decision.
for me, the worst one was Suarez.
He's low. He's 18. But he's low.
Fafa Pico had a cross in there in front of the not even in front of the 6 yard, inside the 6 yard box, in front of goal, and somehow he kicked it over the crossbar. So that was a blown opportunity for Inter Miami. Luis Suarez's miss as well was a missed opportunity. I mean, Inter Miami had some golden chances in this game,
But
and
so did Toronto.
so did Toronto. But Inter Miami, inexplicably, with the talent they have up top, were not able to put this one away. Messi actually had scored earlier in the first half. It was called back via video review. The referee did go to the monitor for a step of the ankle. I thought that was the right call. I think it was pretty clear. I don't think there's much you can disagree with there. But yeah, it was weird for Inter Miami to miss those type of chances in the quantity, in the number of chances that they missed. A very uneven, disjointed game from La Rosa Negra. And it leaves you, at least me, with more concerns going into Wednesday. Because against LAFC last week, they didn't look good in the attack. In this week's game against Toronto FC, a much more, a weaker opponent, despite the individual talent that they have. A disjointed effort, right? Attack looks good at times. Defense doesn't. Attack can't score despite creating clear-cut opportunities. So it doesn't really, there's not really good signs going into Wednesday about the state of Inter Miami, which not only has to win, they have to win and try to keep LAFC off the board, because one goal from LAFC means Inter Miami has to score 3. So things aren't looking too good for Inter Miami in terms of the uphill climb they have, but that's why you play these games. Very quickly, to wrap up this game against Toronto FC, I do want to share this image because it was an interesting tactic from Mascherano. I took this picture from the press box. When Inter Miami was attacking, they moved out of their 4-4-2 into more of a 3-3-4. And you'll see the lines here. Obviously, if you're listening to this, a bit harder to understand, but this picture is on my Twitter handle at Franco Panizo with the lines all illustrated. At the back, you can see you had Lujan, you had Tomas Aviles, and you had Ian Frey. They were essentially playing as your 3 center backs. In the midfield, Telasco Segovia tucked in, Busquets and Redondo were the other 2 interior midfielders, los interiores. And then up top, your left back, Jordi Alba, was essentially playing as a left winger, while your right midfielder, Robert Taylor, was playing high and wide on the right side, on the same forward line as Luis Suarez and Lionel Messi. It's crystal clear here. And interesting tactics. Curious to see if we'll see that again on Wednesday. I doubt it, because
to score.
But I doubt it. You can't give up goals, right? You can't leave yourself exposed, because one goal really, really sets you back. So we're curious to see what Mascherano does tactically on Wednesday compared to what he did this past Sunday. And 2 more things to talk about from this game were Drake Callender got a rare start, his first start of the season. He talked post-game about his recovery from injury, about the start, about his role. I would like to listen to this from Drake Callender because he's been a big talking point this year. Our beloved Cinco, Jose Armando, asked Drake Callender if he feels he has to catch up to Oscar Ustari after missing preseason, Ustari getting starts. And I thought Drake Callender's response was pretty interesting. Let's listen.
How do you think you're going to get opportunities?
I wouldn't say I would be catching up. I mean, I'm ready to go. I have a lot of experience. I'm going into my prime. I feel ready to go, and I just want to be available for the team. And the most important thing is that we win games. It's important to have competition on the team. We have a great GK group. We have a great team, and we have a lot of weapons. So, it's about to get the first minutes of the year under the belt tonight and go on from there.
What exactly were the injuries? What were you dealing with?
Yeah, I was dealing with right adductor injury that kind of migrated up to the groin area, and as a goalkeeper, I want to be at my best, and I was really having trouble with the long kicking, the long balls. Diving felt good, catching felt good, movements felt good, but once I got to the kicking, it was really still bothering me, and it took me a while to kind of work through that. I was trying to do as much as I could, kind of bit by bit. You probably saw me in training and end of February into March. It's just like, how do I prepare, get the reps while still manage the injury and get close to 100%. And, it's a long year, so it's just kind of like figuring out what was the best way to kind of get to where I am now. And I was training a little bit, recover, heal, see how it feels, and ultimately it's feeling really good, and I'm just going to keep it that way.
All right, guys. That was a long sound bite because he answered two questions there.
That's the media training response.
No, listen, I thought it was interesting when Jose asks him about, does he feel he's catching up? And he shakes his head and says, no, I don't feel like I'm catching up. And he says, I'm in my prime. What does that have to do with playing catch up? To me, that reads to the line of, I'm not here to be a number two. I'm here to be the starter. I shouldn't be the number two because I'm in my prime to be the number one. That's how I interpret his comments. Andrea, what were your thoughts on Drake Callender's interview? You were there for the full 3.5 minute or so, or however long it was, interview that we had with him. So what did you take away from our talk? Our first talk. Callender was freed. We said hashtag free Callender, and we got it. But what did you think about the interview with him?
I think it was very restricted. It was not the normal Drake Callender. I think he was trying to be honest, but I think that I agree with Alonso. That was media prepared, some media person or even his agent talking to him and telling him what to say, right? And I just felt it wasn't the normal Drake Callender. And listen, we've talked about this a couple of times here, and it is granted. It is what it is. And I'm glad at least he had a couple of things to say, like what you're saying, that he is in his prime, because it's true. He's young. He has a possibility of going to the World Cup, and he shouldn't be the second goalkeeper on this team. So I'm glad he said it, but I don't think he didn't say that much after that, to tell you the truth, about his situation. He was classy, because I would have said a lot of stuff if I was in his position, to tell you the truth.
We know you would have. That's why we call you Akisita here on the podcast. Look, I also thought that when he went into the injury, like, and he said that he went from having a adductor injury to a groin injury, not being able to play some certain kicks comfortably. I think that's also telling, because he's not the best with the ball at his feet. And then if he has limitations that further restrict him from being able to play balls out of the back, then that's only going to hurt him. And maybe that's why he was so adamant about, because we heard las sensaciones, right, from Mascherano for several weeks. Maybe that's why Drake Callender was so adamant that he wanted to feel good before he came back. And he talks about it. He's like, I want to be 100%. I wanted to give them the green light, but I wanted to feel good so that I could be ready for the rest of the season.
For me, that's one of the worst things that Inter Miami does, because the game yesterday was so boring, so awful, because Inter Miami has possession, but like 80% of that possession is just them passing the ball with the goalkeeper. It's horrendous way of playing football, to tell you the truth. And when you see goalkeepers that are good with their feet and make the game interesting, it's not just passing the ball around him and the defenders. It's about the goalkeeper creating possibilities and creating games. Creating goals, creating passes, and creating highlight reels, not just possession without anything, because the first 30 minutes of this game was just that Inter Miami having the ball between Ian Frey, Jordi Alba, Toto Avilés, and Luján, and Drake Callender. It was horrible. And that puts Drake in a great disadvantage, but it's not like Ustari is miles ahead of him, to tell you the truth. Just My opinion.
Who should start on Wednesday if you're the head coach, Andrea? Who should start? Just give me a name. I don't want to hear a whole explanation. You just give me a name.
No, if of course the head coach is Mascherano, and we know who's starting. It's Ustari, of course.
Who would you start? Who would you start?
Me, I would start the Callender.
Está loca, está loca.
1,000%.
Alonso, who would you start? Esa sonrisa, Alonso. Who would you start? Who would you start on Wednesday?
Study.
Ustari. Now, Ustari did not dress for this game, and we were told it was merely part of the rotation. Wasn't on the bench. It was Rocco Rios Novo, who was the backup goalkeeper against Toronto FC. We would like to take that at face value, but we know from previous experience, because we're not naive, that with Inter Miami, you always have to question it. So unless we see Ustari training tomorrow, we're not going to say that he's ready to play. Until we see him training tomorrow, I'm not going to say he's ready to play. But if he is healthy, if he is available, I'm with you, Alonso. I start with Oscar Ustari. I imagine that if he is healthy and he is available, Mascherano goes that direction. I think the comment section mostly agrees with
Drake
you and
regressed
I.
last year. I cannot read the name. I can only see the
Roberto.
comment. Okay, Roberto. Well, but Ustari regressed last game. That goal against LAFC, man.
It was a bad goal. It was a bad goal. And that's, maybe that leaves things a little bit more open. Thomas says Ustari. Roberto says Ustari. It's not even a question. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. By the way, this was Inter Miami. We're going to switch gears. We have one more topic to talk about. I'll get to the lineup here in a second because we can transition. Last topic we'll talk about from this game is Alan Obando. He made his anticipated Inter Miami debut. The young teenage Ecuadorian striker came off the bench. He was dressed in uniform for the first time, and he came off the bench to replace Luis Suarez in the match. Showed some flashes, but I'll ask you, Alonso Contreras, what do you think of his performance? Of course, noting that the biggest play involving him in this one ended up being a costly error where he's racing towards on goal. He's got a defender closing in. All he has to do is play a square pass to Lionel Messi, who's wide open down the right. It's a sure goal, right? You expect Messi to put the chance away if he gets the ball. But Obando decides to push it forward. It gets too far away from him. Then it becomes un mumbo jumbo, un menjunje in the 18-yard box. And the chance goes to waste. Messi clearly was not happy there, and you can see him saying some words towards Obando. Alonso, we'll talk about the error, but what do you think about the overall brief cameo from the Ecuadorian teenager?
I mean, for 18 years old, I think he did good. He fought the ball in the air. He fight the balls. He run. I think his mistake was the extra touch. And I mean, he's a forward. He's 18. He wants to make a goal, set in a statement. So come on. Maybe next time he will learn. But at that moment, as a forward, he wanted to take the goal and he couldn't. And of course, when you don't make the goal, and all the blames comes to you. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm happy. And let's see, he's only 18, great potential. He already have experience in the youth national team and the senior national team. So it could be a good replacement for Suarez to give a couple minutes or couple games off. I don't know if he's going to stay. He's on loan, but I like his performance.
So I would say he showed flashes from what we saw, right? He showed some hold-up play that was interesting. That's a little bit different from Luis Suarez. Obviously, a much bigger frame. He talked post-game about being able. They asked him about his playing style, and pretty much what he only said was that he's good in the air and can head the ball. So we're gonna listen to him because he's not a man of many words, at least not yet. He doesn't feel too comfortable in front of the cameras, or at least he did not on this night. We'll listen to two sound bites. They're very, very brief, and his voice is low. So pay attention. First one will be on his style, then we'll listen to him on the mistake.
Mis características son más dentro del área, tengo buen salto, tengo buen cabezazo y eso es lo que me referencia a mí como jugador.
Tiene buen cabezazo, which, listen, Suarez is good and Suarez can score a header. but Inter Miami doesn't have a complete like aerial threat in the box. So if Obando can bring that, that adds an element to the attack. Now this was Alan Obando on his no pass to Lionel Messi.
Sí, sí, fue la jugada muy rápida. En el momento no lo vi porque la adelanté y bueno, fue lo que pasó en la jugada.
So another brief answer, more even shorter than the last one, and he says he just didn't see him, which pretty much you can tell by how the play developed, right? Because if you had seen him,
They
he
have
plays
no
that pass.
chemistry. They haven't trained a lot, and
No se entienden, right? 100%.
but
That all
Allen
goes into
Obando, I
it.
agree with Alonso. Allen Obando is a promise. That's the reason why Atletico de Madrid bought him, and it's because
you're
of what
right.
he
I
showed
mean,
in
just-
Barcelona and in
Espera,
the
Alonso, hold
tournament.
on. Let Andrea finish her thought.
Yeah, that's and you're gonna see that in Inter Miami, but you have to give him more time because he didn't train
But
not
how-
completely this week.
But how much time can Inter Miami really afford to give him? I agree. He's young. He's
Well,
a
if you
prospect.
bring that type
but
of
he's the
players, then you
number
have
two-
to give them time. You have
He's the
given
number
Toto
two striker,
Avilés
though.
2 years already, and he hasn't
You got League
changed and
Cups
evolved.
coming too. League Cups, you know, you
A
can
ver.
play.
Okay.
No, but-
Pero si Luis Suarez se
but
lesiona mañana, Obando's a starter. So he's got to learn on the fly. Isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, but he's 18. He's 18. And also, what Andrea was saying is correct. Like when Leo Messi was in Barcelona, even Rafa Marquez said, we have to tell them not to dribble all the time. And look, Messi, how far. I mean, I'm not saying Obando is going to be the same, but I'm saying everyone has a process when they're a promise,
course.
you know? So
Of course.
let that guy develop. I mean, he needs to be ready because we know Suarez is playing with one leg. But hey, also at the same time, take time to learn. I mean, not take time, long time, but like understand how Miami play.
A
so
Mascherano
you can be ready.
idea,
I
exactly.
agree that there's a balance, right? Just like there's a balance with Tomas Aviles at the back who makes mistakes. He's going to make mistakes, right? Obando's going to make mistakes. But you also have to have games from him going forward where he looks good and doesn't make the mistake. He doesn't need to win you the game, but he needs to not repeat those type of mistakes on a consistent
It's difficult to
basis.
play with Messi. We see it with Velasco Segovia, who we know he has talent, but you saw him yesterday desaparecido because he doesn't have a position, because he tries to go to the middle, there's Messi. He tries to go to his sides, there's Jordi Alba. And you can see the difference between him and what Robert Taylor did in the first half, because you have these players that are more experienced than you, that take positions that if the team is not playing well, they go to certain positions, and then you don't know how to play. And that happens a lot in this team, and it's happening not just to Allen Obando, but to Velasco Segovia also.
What would be
to a lot of
fair
these players.
expectations? What would be fair expectations for Alan Abondo statistically in all competitions? How many goals would you put it that all right? That's a respectable season, first season with Inter Miami. 7, 8,
No, 10.
10. If he gets 10 goals, I mean that's pretty damn.
For being
damn
okay,
good.
I am assuming 10 because he's the second forward, so he's gonna have more minutes playing. I mean, a lot of minutes playing, you know, because League Cups is coming, the FIFA Club World Cup, you know, so.
Thomas says
then
5
Suarez-
goals. Roberto says 5 goals. I say 7 goals is good. If he gets 7 goals, he did a good job as an 18-year-old. But like you said, he's going to have opportunities. The number 2, Luis Suarez goes down with an injury. He's the next man up. All right, let's switch gears because we've got to get going here. Inter Miami versus LAFC on Wednesday night at Chase Stadium in the most important game of Javier Mascherano's young coaching career. He has not had a more important game than this one. He talked about
pressure.
He did, though,
he has pressure. No, como coach.
in the Olympics.
It's a sub-20. I mean, yeah, that has pressure, but
No,
that's
sub-20, sub-20, under 23.
Yeah, but he didn't even qualify.
okay.
He didn't qualify.
No, he didn't qualify. It's an important game for his club career. Yeah, we'll put it in his club career, club coaching career. Yeah, we're not going to get into the semantics. Inter Miami's down 1-0. They did not score an away goal in Los Angeles. So they have to score, they have to win, and they have to try not to let Los Angeles find the back of the net here in South Florida. Otherwise, they need to score 3 because LA will have the away goal advantage. So it's a tough task. Tactics will be important. Start will be important. Performance will be important. The lineup will be important. Everything will be important for Inter Miami if they are to avoid the, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but the disastrous elimination and not reach the semifinals. So before we go into it, we have to, because Alonso, you and I talked about this last week on the live watch along. But for the people that don't join us for the watch along, I don't upload those to SoundCloud or the podcast just for listeners, audio listeners, because it's 3.5 hours long and it's watching a game. So people, some people might not be able to piece it all together because you're listening, but you're not watching. So I don't upload that. So some of the topics we discussed there maybe haven't been covered for some of our listeners or our viewers. So, and yeah, this is where it's going to get good. We will start with very quickly before we get to last week's overall performance, because that trickles into this week, and I've got my cards ready in case you two get out of hand. Last week, there was a very controversial call in the first half of the game where Peluca Falcón is tussling with LAFC's attacker, the player that ends up scoring the game-winning goal. Now, the player ends up tussling with Peluca in a manner that requires the head referee to go to the monitor to see if he made contact to the face, if he tried to strike him. The decision was made to give the player a yellow card. This is what Mascherano said last week. It's really, really humorous. It's funny for me because Mascherano goes from entrenador a reportero. He goes from the head coach to the reporter because instead of answering the question, he starts asking the media member questions.
The media member couldn't take the pressure.
Hey, by the way, Alonso, somebody told me, I won't say who, but somebody thought that was you. Someone thought that you asked the question. I swear to you. Hey, listen, it kind of sounds like you a little bit.
Answered back, and I would have answered.
But I'm not gonna lie.
Busquets era roja. You would have answered the same. Y la de Busquets era roja.
Suena un poquito como tú. I think it's somebody that's Peruvian. I don't know if the person, but I think it would be.
I would have tell him, okay, so what happened with Messi? Tell me, when Messi grabbed the back of
let's listen to Mascherano. Let's listen to Mascherano on the red. This is a good soundbite.
Buenas noches, Javier. Luis Uribe de California Deportes TV. ¿Qué tú crees que fue la influencia de la tarjeta amarilla que le sacaron a Nathan Ordaz cuando fue una pequeña jugada muy disputada que el árbitro fue al árbitro?
¿Te pareció pequeña?
Bueno, una jugada que fue al VAR el árbitro y que fue obviamente
¿Y qué opinión tenés vos?
Que fue una decisión.
¿Está bien la decisión?
Eso quería preguntarles de.
Te pregunto a vos.
¿Qué opinás? Para mí que simplemente el árbitro.
No, ¿qué opinás? Al final hay una situación donde todos la vimos.
Claro.
¿No?
Sí,
esto no es subjetivo.
No es subjetivo, es simplemente
esto es objetivo. Cuando vos pegás a un rival sin el balón, ¿qué es? ¿Qué es?
Agresión.
¿Y qué es una agresión? ¿Qué es? ¿Qué corresponde?
La tarjeta.
¿Qué tarjeta? ¿Qué color?
La roja.
Amarillo.
No.
¿Qué color?
La tarjeta la que sabemos que para la roja, obviamente.
Listo. Esto es claro. Al final no es una cuestión de interpretación.
Claro.
Acá no hay interpretación. ¿No? Lo dejo para ustedes, que son los que opinan. Yo trato de planear un partido y tratar de darle herramientas a mi equipo. Pero ustedes que lo ven de afuera y que opinan, estaría bueno que opinen también. Y te aclaro, no. Agresión sin balón es roja. Acá, en China y en la luna.
Acá en la China y en la luna. For those of you that don't speak Spanish, Mascherano ends an incredible soundbite, incredible response by saying that is a foul here in China and on the moon. Fantastic soundbite.
But I mean, before we analyze the answer, it's gonna be. I mean, and that's what we always talk about. He is gonna have. I mean, he's a young coach, so come on, Javier. I know he watched Miami Total Football Radio because he told you before. that in your show in that post
No,
conference.
he read the tweets. I don't know if he watches the show.
Probably he doesn't look at it right now live. But the thing is, you are such a new head coach that you're gonna have vice versa situations, and people are gonna tell you, "Hey, but it wasn't aggression. Are you okay with the yellow card or that was a red card?" Because you say aggression is here in China in the moon.
Alonso, tell me the reporter did not sound like you.
Yeah, he sounds like.
Yeah, he sounds Peruvian.
El impostor. Oh man, it's funny.
But I mean, the reporter should be like, "Hey, I'm asking you the question because you have better angles." I was.
No, yeah. The reporter. No offense to the reporter. I don't know the person, but
I don't think he was expecting much.
He wasn't ready for it, right? And he probably he probably shied away from the spotlight as opposed to just taking it on. Like, hey man, this is what I think. If you like it, you like it. You know. Imagine he would have been like Andrea, because Andrea, we haven't even gotten to you yet. If he would have said, I think it's yellow. Ooh, Mascherano goes off, bro. Mascherano goes off if he says that.
I would have loved.
I think it's that. No, you should say. I think it's a yellow.
So here's the question:
when Messi got that from the against New York City.
Here's the question for both of you, and we start with Alonso because we know your response. Although again, not everyone has tuned into last week's show. Alonso, was that foul by LAFC attacker Nathan Ordaz? Was it a yellow or was it a red?
Bro, that reminds me when I used to play Mortal Kombat and you play R2 in circle. That was like double combo, bro. He went like
1-2
with the elbow and then the forearm, man.
He gave him the old Popeyes, the 1-2 combo. Andrea, yellow or red?
For me, it was a yellow. And let me tell you why. Because you have to see the referee has to see the whole thing. Maximiliano Falcón was holding him and he was trying to get away. He kicks him. How do you say in Spanish? Le pega. He hit him. He hits him because he was trying to get away. I told you this.
If Maximiliano Falcón, so there's no ball in the middle.
If Maximiliano Falcón grabbed here, the bottom of his face and not his eyes, I think he would have been sent off. But since Maximiliano Falcón was holding him and flopped after, I think the referee was forced to give a yellow card out.
I think the same foul.
Just my opinion.
In Chase
exactly. Falcón exaggerated. I can read the name. Frankly, read the name. Falcón exaggerated a bit. It is like he was stabbed in the face. Exactly. For me, if Falcón didn't flop, that would have uppered the possibility of a red card. But Falcón holding him and then flopping, the referee saw that and has to take that into account. For me, the yellow card was correct because of that.
I agree. No, so I'm with Alonso 100%. It's a red card. It doesn't matter. I don't have to punch you in the face to get carded. If I make an attempt and I miss because you evaded.
Yeah, but the attempt was made because Falcón was the one holding.
You're allowed to grab each other in soccer, right? It's part of the game. What's not part of the game is starting to swing arms and trying to punch people or hit people.
Yeah, but he was trying to do this before he hit him. You have to see the whole, not just the 4 seconons. See the whole play, and you'll understand why the
referee. You can hold somebody. You're allowed to hold somebody.
Right? When people jump with their elbows up, doesn't matter if you see him or you hit him.
Oh, but that's a yellow. Jumping with your arms open is a yellow, not a red.
That's a red card.
Pedri Potter says, "I'm sure it's not even a yellow for Andrea." That was before you said.
No, it's a yellow. I think the yellow card was correct.
But my answer was that was a red card and 2 months in jail.
Yeah,
I think it was a yellow card, and I don't think Mascherano should have complained, because then the referee, why didn't he say anything about Busquets? Busquets deserved a red card that wasn't even checked on the VAR.
Well, that's at the end of the game, and it didn't make a big of a difference.
Yeah, but if you're talking about the referee, then you have to be consistent.
100%. Busquets también le hubiesen dado roja por ese foul, ese planchazo al final del partido. He absolutely deserved a red. So did the LAFC attacker who ends up scoring the game-winning goal. Ordaz, yeah. So
I mean, and it sucks because the player that should have get a red card for
For me,
for some
that's
part,
one
he
of
scored the goal.
one of the
The
things
winning
that
goal.
LAFC showed better than Miami, because Ordaz played that whole the whole of that first half, and I expected Cerúndolo to take him out in the second half, but he didn't, and he played the game. He scored the goal, and he played the whole game without having any more problems. And that's a recurring thing with Inter Miami. Inter Miami don't get a decision, go their way, and they get lost, and they cannot let it go. And that's one of the things that LAFC made better than Inter Miami.
Janet Louise says, I think the refs sometimes are trying so hard to not show any favoritism to Inter Miami that they end up with the bias against us.
I agree, and I told
I
you
agree with
that
that.
was going to happen in this tournament because of
I
what
agree.
happened with
I
Marco
agree.
Antonio in
Espera,
that
espera,
game in
espera.
Sporting Casa City. That is
Well,
that
you're
is a
right.
fact that would happen.
I agree with the referees when they play Inter Miami. Or they're too nice to Inter Miami because they think that way everybody can go home happy. Or they're too strict so they can be like, no, he was doing he was playing by the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you like I say, you don't give the red to Busquets, but you don't either call a foul on Messi when he was hitting the Philadelphia player 3 times in front of the referee.
It's a different game, Alonso. Look,
No, but
if
I'm
you want,
saying,
if you want,
but
espera,
I'm saying,
si
I'm
quieres
saying the
hablar,
magnitude of the plays.
si quieres hablar de the overarching issue here,
Yeah,
look, I think
no,
what it comes,
we are talking about the referees overall. Some
Okay.
of them are nice, some of
So
them
what-
don't want to play by the book, and they're
So
ruining
what
the
I
game.
think, what I think it comes down to, and I agree with the sentiment that some of the referees maybe favor Inter Miami, right? Because they have the star power. That happens. We've seen that across all sports. But then some referees are going the complete opposite way, where in trying so hard not to favor Inter Miami, they end up having a bias against them because they want to look so much like they're not favoring them. So I see both sides of the coin. The bigger issue, I think, is you just don't have referees of high quality in this league and in this region. Not many, not in abundance. So what happens is they get swallowed up by the moment, swallowed up by the occasion, by the personalities on the field. I mean, how often do we see Jordi Alba, Busquets, Suarez, Messi working the referees? How often do you see them get in the face and start arguing because they're working the referee? They're trying to get in their head psychologically.
I think Ocean
they know how to
Nation
do
had
that.
a good
They've been playing
game.
at the highest level.
I think he got a good game. The 2 decisions that Inter Miami fans are against, and then the other LAFC fans are against because he didn't red card Busquets. But I think he had a decent game. The result for me is not affected because of him.
What, Andrea? Oh my! I can't card you for an opinion, pero I would.
It is.
That's
Nathan Ordaz, that's why I told you, LAFC and Cerúndolo and Nathan Ordaz showed that they were better than Inter Miami in that moment, because he got a yellow card after the referee going to VAR, after him thinking that he was going to get red carded. He then played the whole game, scored a goal, and didn't miss.
Pedri Potter says he had a good game. LOL question mark. This woman is not serious. He said Pedri Potter. Look, Andrea, this is the last thing I'll say about it, and we'll leave it there. The fact that when the referee comes back from VAR and gives him a yellow card and he gives him a thumbs up is because he knew he was at risk of getting a red card. He knew he was at risk. So he's like, hey, I'll take the yellow card.
Yeah,
right? Otherwise,
remember,
por eso, ¿por qué más le harías así al árbitro?
Because when
time.
the referee
They
goes
think
to
about your
VAR,
time.
players think that they're going to get red carded. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Inter Miami
should've
had the
done that.
whole game after that, and they couldn't score. It's just an easy way out. I that's what I don't like when a coach tries to make it about the referee, because it's the easy way out. The real thing in here is that Inter Miami couldn't get past LAFC, and then in the second half, LAFC was 1,000 times better than what Inter Miami showed. And Inter Miami cannot play differently when a team comes and plays to their strengths like LAFC did. Inter Miami has no answers to that, and that's the real thing here. Not that Nathan Ordaz should have been red carded. The team had the same 11 players there, and they couldn't do it. So for me, it's an easy way out for Mascherano to say, oh, he should have been red carded and would have won the game. You don't know that either. So it's the easy way out. For me, what we should be analyzing here is that Mascherano hasn't had the ability to show that he can defeat one of these coaches on the field with tactics. He hasn't showed that in these last games. And it's going to be a problem against LAFC because Cherundolo, we saw how he won on the field. Good win against Inter Miami, and with a lot of opportunities to make that win bigger.
Bien,
If
Andrea.
Maxim Falcon didn't save that on the line, they would have won 2-0. And then what? What would be the answer for Javier Mascherano? Blaming the referee is the easy way out. It's just like I see it.
And Andrea, you're not listen.
Andrea.
It's not. I don't disagree with you that there was a rest of the game to be played, and that in that rest of the game that was there to be played, Mascherano was outcoached. Inter Miami was outplayed. I don't disagree with you on that. But if that red card is given, the game plays out completely different. Completely different. All right, it wasn't called. Yes, we still have to analyze the rest of the game for what it was, and I agree with you there. Mascherano couldn't find a way to break down a well-drilled, defensive-minded LAFC team that wanted to hit in transition, especially with Bouanga down the left, who Alonso loves for whatever reason. Pero bueno, now comes the big challenge. Now comes the big task. Now they have to revertir la situación. They've got to flip the script, change this thing on Wednesday night at home. It's a big task. You can expect LAFC to do more of the same of what they did in the first leg. I mean, Alonso, how does Inter Miami do this? How does Inter Miami get the goal that they need, at least one goal, while not giving up another? How do they find that balance between being attack-minded because they have the pressure of scoring, but not opening themselves up too much to the point where, where they give up a goal and then that puts them in the bad spot of needing to score 3?
I mean, first of all, Mascherano needs to tell them whoever plays this game, they're not going to play on the weekend. They're going to play with MLS Next Pro. So they're not worried about playing next game. So they need to pressure the whole night. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, there's impossible, but they need to high pressure most of the game because even if they score one goal, LAFC came and said, okay, man, come on, guys. We just need to score one. That's it. We score one, and they have to score 3 of us. And then we're going to put the 11 under the goal. So what Inter Miami needs to do is maintain the ball on LAFC half as much as they can. And then not able to react. Because this could be both ways. Or either LAFC goes calm. Okay, let's score one of us. That's fine. We can attack, counter attack. At the end of the day, if Miami is winning 2-0, they only need one goal to qual. Or because they are afraid to Messi, Suarez, because of highlights and videos from the past, they can be like, if they score one goal, we have to go all attack and score one goal, and then Inter Miami is gonna counter attack, and that's 2, 3, 4, 5 goals. So it could go both ways. You have to be very smart. You have to play the best. I think Chelo might play because he played yesterday. So he was doing the rotation and give you some minutes so you can loosen up. So, I mean, you have to play your best 11 offensively and run the entire 90 minutes and win. I mean, you have the power to win. And LAFC is only Bouanga. Ordaz is a good player. I'm not saying he sucks because he's a good player, but that's it. That's all you have. That's all you have. Bouanga, that's it. He showed he's a dangerous player. Even you fell in love after I was telling you after you watched the game. You were Bouanga my next MVP 2025.
No, that's closer. That's closer, Armando. Look, Andrea's got some support in the comment section. Ace Lionel says Andrea speaking facts, hands up emoji. Brad says 1000% Andrea. But Andrea, you also have some negative sentiments there. Pedri Potter, no hater, negative sentiment. Pedri Potter says first game lost by Mascherano, and Andrea shows up out of the blue. Meanwhile, when she was absent for all of the other streams, therefore I would like everyone in the chat to not take her serious.
It's
Oh,
fine.
man.
I don't
Eh,
live with a veil in my face, so that's why
Está bien, está bien, está
we
bien.
are not fans and we are analyzing here. But I agree with Alonso, but for me the biggest problem Mascherano has is Busquets' absence, because then you have to play Redondo with Yannick Bright, and Redondo is
Cremati.
not the same as Busquets, and Bright is a good player, but he's also not the same as Busquets. So that for me will be the biggest problems.
Mike
What is
B
happened?
has appeared and
I
he
don't
says,
see.
at Pedri, para de romper las pelotas en todos los podcasts. Okay, so there it is. The comment section is now, you've got your
Everyone is
abogados.
going. Everyone is. We know that this would happen when the team lost the first game. Let's be real. That espejismo of winning the first and counting the wins in preseason as invicto, blah blah blah. That was going to end in a moment. Unfortunately, it happened.
And when it
in
did,
the
Andrea
Champions
would
Cup.
be here to let us know.
No, unfortunately, it happened. It happened in the Champions Cup, and who
That's
knows?
just
I mean,
kidding, Andrea.
but let's be honest. I mean, if they lose, that's a failure, or
Yes.
just-
Complete failure.
Yes,
complete
it's a failure. Yes,
Because,
100%.
Why? But, okay, but
as
why?
we
Why?
as
Because you
because
guys said that he has 80 years old players, so
No,
No,
because
no.
Alonso,
Tiene
we
más
were
talento que
talking
todos.
at the beginning of the season that the draw for them in this Concacaf Champions Cup, the draw was super forgiving. They didn't get a Mexican opposition until the semifinals, and now they don't even get Monterrey because Monterrey was disqualified. And
I got a text
they-
message from a
they
colleague.
get an
that
easy
said-
draw.
I got a text message from a colleague that asked about something that we haven't incorporated yet, but we will soon. I'm working on it, and that is a phone number, a line where you guys can call in and share your thoughts verbally, your opinions, tus opiniones. Un número donde puedes llamar, and you can do it. I'm working on it. You can do it. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, I'll get that sorted for you guys.
I mean, we're 25 tomorrow.
Tomorrow, tomorrow is match day -1, my friend. I gotta be at the press
No,
conference.
Just do the video and put like a fake number there so they can call it. They can send the message.
1-800. Thank you for your time. All right, for you
So
guys.
that's
yeah.
why, Alonso, because they shouldn't, and if they go, they get supposedly, because who knows if Vancouver wins against Pumas, right? But they get Pumas, the worst of the Mexican teams,
Hold
and
on.
in the other
No,
side,
oh.
you got America, Cruz
Come back,
Azul,
come back,
Tigres,
Andrea,
and
come
everyone,
back.
one
Andrea,
of the
come
big
back.
guns.
Yeah.
And Inter
You're
Miami
gonna come
had
back.
But
the
that's
easier
good,
path.
bro. Hold
Espera,
up.
espera.
No,
Come
but
back.
we're talking
Come back to this
fracaso,
game.
no?
No, but you can't think about what's next if you haven't
No,
gotten
we're
out of
talking
this
about
round.
fracaso.
Pero
nada más.
fracaso is if they lose. You can't talk about the next round and the round after that if they haven't passed this
Yes,
round. Yellow
have a
card
real
for
possibility.
Andrea. Amarilla
Mute
for
me.
Andrea in her
Mute
return.
me.
Yeah, you muted for 60 seconds. No, you only get muted if you get red carded. We don't mute for a yellow card.
Oh, okay.
I almost forgot.
Sergio,
Alonso.
talking shit.
Sergio Busquets is out for this one with doble amarilla, yellow card accumulation. Who starts in his place, right? Because next man up, if you look at the depth chart, next man up would be Federico Redondo next to Yannick Bright. That seems the most simple solution on paper. Is it that simple, or does Mascherano come up with something a little bit more inventive and creative? Quizás tucking into Telasco Segovia. What do you think? How does Inter Miami replace the almost irreplaceable Sergio Busquets?
I mean, probably Telasco Segovia. Or, I mean, because Redondo, I don't know. Sometimes he I'm sorry, but like he mess up on the easiest passes, you know? Or he complicates himself when he wants to play short instead of play long. So Segovia right, and then you go with Taylor on the wing, and you go with Fafa, and then you keep Messi in front, and I don't know. It's because when you see that the roster in some positions don't have a replacement, it's complicated to guess how he's gonna play. But I would say, I don't know. Segovia for me is option number 1, and then Redondo the 2, and Kremaski the last one. But he needs to be smart to play Bright and Segovia kind of like together, like a windshield. Let's move together as a windshield because you're not Busquets, man. If you bring pressure, you're not scared to get out of the pressure like with one move. At least if you guys move together, you guys can do 2-1 if somebody comes to pressure you.
So I'm going to predict Bruni Sensa's yellow card for everyone agreeing with Ajicita. I'm going to predict that Telasco Segovia starts centrally. I'm going to predict that. It's not inside information. It's my supposition. It's my sensation. Telasco Segovia ha jugado de interior. He's played more centrally throughout his early stages of his career. Clearly, when he's on the left side, he tucks in and he plays more of a faux winger / inside mid, like a hybrid type of role. I think his qualities with Busquets being out, I think he gets to start there next to Yannick Bright. What does that mean for the left mid spot? I mean, listen, Jordi Alba's going to bomb forward, right? That's Inter Miami's strategy. So you need someone in there. If you don't have Telasco there, who normally starts as the left-sided midfielder, and my opinion, he's tucking in to play centrally to replace Busquets. You need someone out there that can help defend and cover space and put in the work when Jordi Alba races forward. Who will be that guy? I think it's going to be Benjamin Cremaschi. I think Cremaschi will get the start on the left midfield, not for his attacking prowess or his possession play, but because he can put in the dirty running, the dirty work, the hustling. And we've seen him on the outside this year.
Fafa is your option.
Fafa, Robert Taylor.
Right.
I will put Fafa because if Alba leaves, I mean, like he's going to do, Fafa have the chance to go back and control Buanga's speed.
The one big issue for Inter Miami is Tadeo Allende status because he hasn't played. He's been dealing with an injury. Still didn't see him over the weekend. I mean, if he trains at all tomorrow, if we see him at practice, still can't imagine he's ready for a start. You have to imagine he'd be coming off the bench at best. So I think it's going to be Cremaschi on the left and then one of Fafa or Robert Taylor on the right. I imagine it would be Fafa. Up top, you've got Messi and Suarez. And again, I'm going Segovia and Bright in the midfield. Now we skipped the whole back line. We know Jordi Alba starting. What about the rest of the defense? Peluca Falcon will be in there 100%.
Allen.
Allen will be in there. They both rested over the weekend against
Chelo.
Is it Chelo? Is it Ian Frey? Or is it Lujan as the right back? Andrea.
Chelo's the right back. Oh.
I think we can see Lujan again. I can see Lujan because I would have said Chelo, but he hasn't had a lot of minutes, so it could be risky to put him in. And we saw Lujan last week. I think it will be the same backline as last week with Noah Allen and Falcon with Lujan and Jordi Alba. And I agree with you guys that Telasco could take that position, but I don't think he's leaving Redondo in the bench for this game. And I think we will see him with Yannick Bright, and we would see Telasco Segovia on that left side, and then we will see Fafa or Robert Taylor on the right side, and Messi and Suarez.
I'm going to put my hands to the flame and say this. I know it's a take. If he starts Redondo, I think it's a mistake. From what we've seen from Redondo this year, I don't think you can start him in a match of this caliber. I know that he's the next man up by the depth chart, but he's not like for like replacement for Busquets. No cumple las mismas funciones. I don't think you can expect him to play there and to fill anyewhat of a similar role. I think Segovia is the closest thing you've got. I think putting in Redondo there would be a mistake. And clearly you're not going to put him on the outside. It's not anywhere near what he can play. I think it's got to be Segovia and Bright. But we'll see what Mascherano does. The lineup will be very important, as will the in-game management, as will the substitutions. It all matters on Wednesday night for Inter Miami. Alonso, who do you think starts at right back? Andrea said Lujan. Chelo did get some minutes against Toronto FC. It marked his return from injury. You need some attack, but you need some defense. You need a balance.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be Ian Frey. I don't think it's going to be Ian Frey.
No, I mean neither. I don't think so. But it's funny because knowing the history of Argentina coaches, tradition. They always come out with something unpredictable, and then they say, no, that's what we'll be doing all this week. And so I don't. It's gonna be probably a surprise, from Mascherano on Wednesday. We'll be there for the press box.
Brad says 100% Franco. It has to be Segovia. At right back,
I agree with that, but it won't happen that you're gonna get
Mascherano
You know what happened? You have
before
something for you
Redondo.
wanna
It's
share?
simply not happening. You paid millions for Federico Redondo, and they rate him better than that. So
it's a big call. It's a big call.
Exactly, it's a big call, and I don't think he'll make it because it has a lot of implications.
Yeah, but he's not responding well.
for him.
I like him. Remember, I told you in the beginning of the season, I like him, but
Yeah,
It's
he
that
has not
sometimes
been
he
to
makes
standard.
sometimes some simple passes he
complicating
makes
himself too
mistakes
much.
on. He makes mistakes on.
It's for a player like Redondo. I think, and I said this when he came here, it was a mistake to come to MLS because if you're a player like that, to fine tune your game, you have to go to Europe. That's the only place to learn. And in MLS, you are not going to learn. And unfortunately, that has happened to him. We haven't seen any progress since he came here, and that's unfortunate because he had that potential. But I think it was a mistake.
Andrea, you can learn in MLS. We've seen players take the next step forward. But anyway,
Who? In that position?
Cucho Hernandez.
No,
no,
in
he
that
said in that
position. In that position.
In the position, Miguel Almirón.
No, Almirón era más.
No,
No, Almirón era más 10. Era más 10.
Mhm.
Edson Flores. Andy
All right.
Pablo.
So you said Lujan? No, you said Chelo. You said Chelo.
No, I said Lujan and
Lujan?
also said Chelo.
Chelo. I don't think it'll be Frey. You need some more attack. Chelo. I agree with Alonso again. Chelo. All right.
But
So-
I think Andrea knows more. Ahí tiene un secreto de Redondo.
All right.
Somebody tell her.
Alonso, I'm going to start with you so we can start wrapping up the show. I know you have to run. You've already passed your time, your allotted time that you gave us.
That's fine. Anything for the Miami.
For the show. All right. Does Inter Miami win? Does Inter Miami advance?
I need more money. Advance, bro. Come on.
No, not what you
More
want.
advance.
No,
More shows.
not what you want. Not what you
More
want.
shows.
What
More shows.
do you Now what do you want? What do you think happens? What do you genuinely think?
Advance.
So they win and they advance.
It's because now we've seen it, but like having Messi, it could be tomorrow 4-0, and everything that we talk and speculate, advance.
I have a bigger point I want to make about what you just said, but Andrea, I have a feeling I know where you're gonna go here. Do they
What do you
win? Do
think
they
I will say?
advance? No. Do they win
No,
or do
I
they
think
advance?
they're going to extra time and then they'll get eliminated. They're going
So-
to tie and get eliminated.
So they tie
In extra time.
So they would lose, right? They lose the game.
Extra
'cause
time.
If you,
Yes.
if you lose
No,
in
but they
extra
would
time,
tie the game. They would tie the game
they'll tie the series, but they'll still
Uh-huh.
lose
So
the
they
series
lose on overtime.
in
Uh-huh.
extra time.
in extra time. Yes.
It's extra time or overtime?
Extra time.
Extra.
Too much
In
It's
American sports, it's overtime, but
Mhm.
in soccer and football terms, it would be extra time.
Yeah, okay,
Eh,
extra. Yeah, you're right.
It's tough, man. It's tough because it's not easy. If LAFC scores one, it's hard to see Inter Miami.
Every time it's a rule that favorites Inter Miami, at the end of the day, it doesn't favor
Yeah.
them. Like
I would-
round 1, 3 games. Now
Look,
Concacaf
I-
away
look,
goal counts because
I want to say
they don't
this.
score. They don't
I
score.
want to say this, and I know how it can be perceived, but I think with Mascherano, and the team has obviously been undefeated, but look, the team is super, super talented, right? And sometimes they win based off of their individualidades, right? Their individual moments of brilliance because they have that much quality. It's not all the time that they're playing well collectively. Que el funcionamiento es top, right? And I think in these last couple of games, you've seen an Inter Miami that collectively doesn't play that well. And I think, Alonso, we talked about this, and I would like to harp on this a little bit here before we wrap up. I feel like when Messi is in the team, they look to play to him way too often. Way too. There was one play against the Toronto FC game in the first half where Inter Miami was on the counter and it was 3-on-8. That was the numerical disadvantage that Inter Miami was at. And Messi decides to try to dribble through 4 guys and he loses the ball in front of
yes. It was 3 against 8. Yes.
It was 3 against 8. And instead of knocking the ball around or building it back, Messi tries to dribble through 4 guys and he loses the ball. I'm not saying Inter Miami is worse with Messi on the field, but I do think that they play differently, that they function differently.
Yeah.
And it does take away from maybe what some of the other players can do. Because when Messi has been out, you've seen other players step up. Tadeo Allende, Telasco Segovia. But when Messi's there and they get less touches because todas las pelotas al 10, all the balls go through the 10, then it's... And you saw it last year too. When he came back from his injury, Tata Martino couldn't find the right balance with the group again. They had found a way to win without him. Then when he came back in, they struggled to find the formula with Messi in there. And then they get eliminated by Atlanta. It's a big task. The team has not been showing signs that they have what it takes to get through. All that said, and you can red card me if you want, I think Inter Miami gets through just based off of their individual talent. I think that will be enough to push them through to the finish line, whether it's un golazo de Messi de distancia, a dribbling moment, whatever the case is.
They need 2 to go through, though.
They need 2. They need 2 and
make it clear to people.
And
my result was they win 1-0 in regular time. That's why they go to extra time. That's the only result that they could go to extra time, to tell people. Correct. Because any goal by LAFC, they are eliminated because they have to score unless they score 3 more goals, right?
That's why I asked if they win and they advance, because they could win this game 2-1 and then by away goals they're eliminated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a very important decision to make because they can win and still be eliminated.
Brad said, yeah, Messi should pass the ball to the other guys. He always tries to pass the ball to Suarez or Alba. Like he says, Tata struggled to find anything except his gum. Worst coach ever. I don't know about that one, but all right. It should be a doozy on Wednesday night. Alonso, you're making the drive down?
He's driving down to see the MVP, Dennis Buanga.
I'll be there in the afternoon. I go to my friend's house. He lives like 5 minutes to say hi. We're gonna eat, and then I'm going to stay.
Yeah, and Brad says too. I could see that happening also. They winning 2-1 and they getting eliminated. It's exactly what happened to Monterrey. Monterrey was winning, and Vancouver scored at the 87th minute in Monterrey, and they got eliminated in their stadium and in their house. That's unfortunately what happens with this kind of rules, and it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate, and Inter, if they get eliminated, we will be talking about the failure and about everything, but it could have been avoided if they had scored in that game in LA, right?
Let's listen to Mascherano before we wrap things up, talking about, as you can see in the headline here, or the title for the show, Messi versus no margin for error. That is what Mascherano said this past weekend when asked about Wednesday night's game. There is no margin for error. No hay margen de error.
No hay margen de error. Entrar desde el primer minuto a dar lo mejor, jugar con el corazón en la mano, pero con la mente fría. Al fútbol se juega con el corazón caliente y con la mente fría. No hay otra manera. O por lo menos es la única manera que entiendo yo de jugar este deporte y es lo que trato de transmitirle. Más en partidos tan importantes. Tenemos 90 minutos para marcar un gol que nos va a dar la igualdad de la serie, pero no podemos tomar gol. Entonces tenemos que ser agresivos, tenemos que estar concentrados, sabiendo de que obviamente el rival, cuando le das alguna oportunidad o ve alguna ventanita de luz, la va a aprovechar. Bueno, el margen de error es 0.
Interesting comments, and it sets it up. Something else that Mascherano has really said since dating back to last week's first leg after the game is that Inter Miami needs its people. It needs its fans. It needs its supporters. It needs la hinchada pushing them on. And based on what we've seen from ticket sales, you can see why that plea is being made, because not a lot of tickets have been sold up until now. So the stadium right now probably looks half full at best. They were selling tickets last week for $25, as cheap as $25, which is probably the cheapest ticket you could buy officially to see Messi.
Because in LA was over 200.
But Inter Miami doesn't control the LAFC ticket prices. But here in South Florida, the cheapest tickets probably you've seen to be able to go watch Messi.
About demand, because in LA it's sold out.
I mean, it's different though. It's a one-off game. You don't see Messi in town that often. Here, you get him on a weekly basis. All the same.
Toronto wasn't full either.
It was not full either. Correct. All the same, it's a tough task for Inter Miami. We'll see how they do.
Yeah,
they definitely need the fans.
It'll be a good game, unfortunately. And I wanted to say something. I forgot to say this when I began, but I'm going to say it right now. It won't matter, because you know what's happening on Wednesday, Franco, and it's going to take all the news. Luka Doncic returning to Dallas. So, yes, Luka Doncic is more and more important than Messi in the United States of America. Yes, it is.
Who's that?
In a national television game. So the result for Inter Miami won't matter.
Miami Total Basketball. Okay. Miami Total Baloncesto. Okay. Thank you for your time.
I just wanted to make fun of you, because then no one would care about Inter Miami. That is the news that day.
I don't know. I mean, maybe in the United States. I don't know about in the Concacaf region. In Mexico, they're not going to be talking about Luka Doncic. They're going to be talking about Messi, lo que pasó en el partido. All right. It's been an eventful pod. We went longer than I expected to. So, Alonso, thank you for your time, because you stuck around. You stuck around late. We'll be back later this week. In some way, shape, or form, we will be back later this week. Hopefully, it'll be with the four of us together for the first time. Although if Inter Miami wins, Andrea probably won't show up. She'll call out sick. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. And hopefully Thursday, but maybe Friday. I don't know. I have to talk to you guys about your schedule, see what it all looks like. Obviously, win, lose, or draw, we'll be back before the weekend, because it's going to be a massive result regardless of what happens. Either Inter Miami stays alive in this tournament and keeps the Concacaf Champions Cup dream going, or it'll be elimination with a lot of questions, a lot of criticism for Javier Mascherano, Lionel Messi, and the Inter Miami squad. So we will leave it there, unless there's anything else you guys want to add. Anything else before we wrap up the show? Alonso, the floor is yours.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for one more show with in Miami Futbol Radio. And
say the name correctly. Miami Total Football
Radio.
Tarjeta Maria.
I want to invite everybody that is watching at this moment that tomorrow is a press conference MD-1, so you can follow up Franco Panizo, Andrea, Armando, so you can have all the insight. I won't be there, but you have the insight of what Mascherano is going to say 24 hours prior to the game, and probably a player is going to talk. So if you want to have more details about the game prior, you can follow them a Franco Panizo, and Andrea Ñañez 07, también a José Armando.
Andrea, anything you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, I just want to say I'm glad to be back, and hopefully Inter Miami plays well, and people will be happy on Wednesday, as we were talking about, and we won't have to criticize Mascherano, because we make some people cry when we criticize Mascherano, but it is what it is. Hopefully,
if they lose next day, Mascherano out.
Mascherano out. Hashtag Mascherano out.
Roberto says no more breaks for Jose. Yeah, Jose's been busy lately, but he said today, and I will quote him here on Miami Total Football Radio, the show, that he will be back for the next one.
Say it right.
He said, no, espérate, I do it at the end.
Franco we need VAR for Franco, because he...
Oh my goodness, I'm corrupt like FIFA. Jose said he will be back for the second show this week, whether it's Thursday or Friday. He said he'll be here. I said that he's not telling the truth, but we'll see. Proof is in the pudding. All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you for everybody that tuned in for this first episode of Miami Total Football Radio, the show. For Andrea Llanes, for Alonso Contreras, I am Franco Panizo. Enjoy Wednesday's game. It's going to be a hell of a spectacle no matter what happens. And of course, if you're an Inter Miami fan, you're hoping for the victory. We'll see what happens. We'll be back in a few days to wrap it all up, recap, analyze, and discuss it all. So enjoy the rest of your Monday night. We will talk to you guys again very, very soon.